And here we go. Hey guys,
Oh,
I'm
up
Jim, and that's Warren. You're watching Talking. No, you're watching Vendor Corner.
Yeah.
I've got to get the right show here. This is Vendor Corner. This is show number 21. We are
Yeah.
brought to you by Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot, located in Central Florida. Yep. And what is Vendor Corner all about? Well, it's a show for booth owners, vendors, at a mall or a shop like Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot. Both Warren and I are vendors here at Decades Reclaimed.
Yep.
And I also happen to be the owner, but I'm a vendor first, owner second. So, yeah, the show's for you guys to learn about becoming a vendor if you want to. Maybe give you some insights if you're an owner and you're struggling, or yeah, you're already a vendor and you want to know what's going on in our industry. We talk about industry topics, and we're going to move right on to our first topic of the day, and it's holds.
Holds.
Holds. Yeah.
Okay.
How long does your mall hold items? You know, it was a wide variety out there of different answers for that question. Some people, the majority of them, I want to say the majority only do 24 hours without a payment. And then once a payment's made, generally it was seven business days to pick it up. Some of them do no holds at all unless there's a non-refundable deposit put down on the item. And then let me see if there was anything different on here. No holds without vendor approval. Well, it was last week we were talking about something about contacting vendors. I think it was discounts,
Yeah,
and we were talking about discounts 2 weeks ago, rather. And we were talking about that, and we said what a pain it is to contact vendors. Sometimes you can't get a hold of the vendor, and while you're trying to do that, the customer's standing there, and that aggravates the customer when you can't get the vendor, or when the vendor gives the answer the customer doesn't want to hear. So, I mean, that's difficult for me to think that you have to call and get approval.
True.
I mean, I guess we try to do some of that if we're not busy. We try to, be as courteous as we can to both the customer and the vendor.
I think it's the size of the shop too, and
Yeah,
if it's a
and
big
how much?
shop,
Yeah, you got tons of customers. You ain't got time to do that.
right.
Yeah, so the no holds was probably the most popular thing. Here at Decades Reclaimed, we will do hours hold, not very long. So somebody calls on the phone and they say, I want this particular item. And we say, we don't accept payments over the phone because that increases our cost on the credit cards and makes us more susceptible to them reversing the charge. And then we lose the item and the money. So we don't do that. We just don't do that. And we will hold it, but we'll only hold it for hours. So somebody calls in, let's say the phone rings this morning, and they say, hey, I want you to hold this. I saw it on Facebook. And I say, okay, I'll hold it till noon. And that's it. If they call afternoon, I say, well, we close at 5 today. I can hold it till 5. And that's pretty much it. That's all we do. Now, if you come in and you purchase something, then I think we do the next weekend.
Right.
So if you purchase on a Wednesday, you have until Sunday to move it out. If you purchase on Sunday, of course, you would have until the next probably Saturday to get it out. Because, some stuff you buy requires a truck, and you're in a little car and you don't have the truck and you got to make arrangements or whatever. But we do that. Now, we've had items that we have sold that have never been picked up, and it's up to the vendor what they want to do with that, if they want to take it out or they want to relist it for sale. But we don't refund. We don't refund. It's only happened a couple times, and we've been here a little while.
7 years.
Coming up on 8, yeah. So, let's see. And then this is just I kind of went over this point, but we'll go over it again. Our vendors here kind of dictate what we do. Like George has a piece, and he just sold it recently. In fact, a week ago, and they're not picking it up until another week. But that was something that he worked out with the customer. We don't deliver, but he was willing to do that for the customer. So, but that's up to them. So sometimes we will call a vendor and say, hey, somebody wants your gigantic China cabinet, and they can't pick it up until 10 days out or whatever. Is that okay? And it's up to the vendor to say yes, because it has to stay in the vendor booth. We don't have a hold area big enough to put anything in furniture wise, right? And even an item, a smaller item that we're holding, like I said, for hours, we don't have a lot of room to put that. So that usually winds up in the way. And again, that's why we probably only hold it for hours.
Right.
And we don't want to lose the sale. I mean, that's just the thing. A lot of times people on Facebook will say, well, they'll see a post on a Monday or Tuesday. Well, I can't come until Friday to purchase the item. Can you hold it for me? You know, a lot of our vendors answer their own Facebook posts, and they'll make that decision. But often we say, well, I'll tell you what, we can't really hold it that long, but if you want to, give us a call before you come in, and we'll let you know if that item is still available. Yep. Okay, our second topic of the evening, and this was something that somebody had put up on one of the groups, and they said their owner does not listen, and they take comments too personally. Owner doesn't listen, and they take comments too personally. Well, I imagine it happens. I mean, I can see from an owner standpoint, you know, we put a lot of effort, a ton of effort into the shop. And I don't think this business, at least from the Decades perspective, is not super lucrative. If it wasn't for the fact that I was a vendor and I was one of the top vendors, I don't know that I would own the shop per se, because it's not bringing in a ton of dollars.
It's a lot of headache.
Brings a ton of work. Oh yeah, and there's a ton of stuff I don't think vendors ever even imagine that has to be done, or the pressures and the responsibilities that our owner has. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you say the wrong thing, you know, it's gonna strike a chord there. For the most part, I guess, and it's how you approach it. If somebody comes to me and they have a suggestion, I listen to them, and then I give them my explanation of it. You know, why don't you do this, or why don't you do that? Why don't you let's just do, you know, Warren comes to me and says, why aren't we using billboards? Well, I would have to say to him, well, you know, that's a good question, but let me tell you, I've done them before, because I've been in business for a very long time, not necessarily in the vintage business. I've been in the vintage business about 10 years, but I've been in business for a very, very long time, And I can tell you billboards don't work. They don't bring people in, and they're very expensive. So, you know, if everybody really wanted billboards, I would say to them, okay, we could probably do that, but the rent's going to go up, you know, because there's no money in the advertising budget to pay for that,
Yes.
you know.
Very expensive.
So, you know, something like that, I would give an explanation to. It wouldn't hurt my feelings if you suggested it, you know. I think I really, going back to what you're saying, you know, and how you say it,
Yeah.
it's all about. And I know there was a lot of comments on when I was reading about this, a lot of comments about, well, one of our vendors here said, me, I don't have problems, and I don't take anything personally. But he's a guy, and somebody said, well, that's a guy-to-guy thing. And I'm thinking, okay, well, yeah, maybe I get that. I get it. But, you know, there's only, 4 guys in here that are vendors?
Yeah, not many of us.
Yeah, me included, and then 3 others. Oh, well, Jim, maybe 5 or
Yeah,
6.
okay. But
Okay,
still,
there might be, but we got 50-something.
We're a minority.
So the ladies are welcome to come in and make suggestions or whatever. We have a management team that is comprised mainly of ladies, so they can always go to them if they don't feel like approaching me. If they feel I'll take it personally, they can go to them. But you know, often, yeah, I don't know.
I think
you
it's
know?
the approach.
I think it is all about the approach, what you're asking them to do. If you're asking them to spend dollars, you know what I mean? As an owner, I don't ask you to spend dollars outside of the contract. I don't ask you. I don't say, Warren, hey, you gotta paint your booth, you gotta take everything out, lose sales, which is asking you to spend money, in my opinion, and then paint your booth up, and then you know, gotta pay for the paint and the time and all that. I don't ask you to do that. You know what I mean? I don't, you know, I'm not spending your money. Don't try to spend. It's not mine, but the shop's money, because the shop is, you know, on razor's edge as far as that goes. But we do have money for advertising it, and we do use it, and we would take suggestions just as well as anybody else. I think it was an isolated case that an owner took it too personally or whatever. But you know, in reading, there was a lady in there, and she says, hey, you know, this is my baby. You know, the shop's her baby. So yeah, it's kind of tough not to think things personally, especially, again, like you said, it's how you say it. If you're attacking them, hey man, if you attack me, I'm going to defend myself, you know. But being an owner is, you know, owner is treating a wound, a gushing wound. How about that for an analogy? Yeah, you know, you got to keep pressure on it to keep from bleeding out. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if somebody comes along and they say to you, well, hey, You know, I've got another way you can do that, but you got to take your hand off the wound for, you know, a certain amount of time. You know, spending money, take your hand off the wound. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of time before you bleed out. Maybe their way doesn't work. You know, so it's a gushing wound. Is how I put it.
And it's tough being in business.
Oh, yeah, just
I've
in
been there
general.
too, yeah,
Just in
yeah.
general, yeah. So, yeah, I'm sorry if you have an owner that takes it too personally, but maybe change your approach. Don't attack them or what they're trying to do. Effort is another thing. You know, I put a ton of effort in, and yeah, I get a little edgy sometimes when that effort is being messed with. When I'm already on, you know, hour 99 for the week, and then somebody's trying to make it 100 by not doing what I ask, or, you know, or doing it in the way I ask, and then, you know, there you go. So that, you know, that's it. That's it in a nutshell. That's it for our show too. That's
Yeah,
our second topic
yeah.
for tonight. So we appreciate everybody watching. This is Jim and Warren. You're watching Vendor Corner, brought to you by Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot, located in Central Florida. If you're ever in our area, stop by and check us out. And we will see you again in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
2 weeks at 8 p.m. on Sunday night at 8 p.m. here on YouTube. We do have other shows on YouTube. That's why we got confused in the beginning.
Yes.
We have Talking Vintage, which is our show just for the, well, it's not just for Decades, but it's more directed at the customers of Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot. And that comes out every week on Facebook and then winds up in syndication or reruns here on YouTube. And there's 130 something of
Yeah,
those.
yeah.
So, if you really totally, you know, you want to be bored and you want to stop every show, you can watch those. They're probably the first thing people see when they come to YouTube. You got to go to the playlist of Vendor Corner to see these. But these are for you guys out there who are booth owners or vendors in a shop or mall like Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot, giving to you insights from two vendors and from an owner. So there you go. That's it. We appreciate everybody watching. If you don't mind, like and subscribe. We appreciate that. We've got, I don't know, 60.
No, I thought 87.
You
the
keep
other
saying
day.
that. I don't know. No,
That's what it says.
We're rapidly approaching 100, perhaps. I don't know. But we'd appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Say goodbye, Warren.
Say goodbye, Warren.